everybody, welcome to or welcome back to my channel. My name is Sam. Happy to have you here. I hope you are well. I have caught a cold, so doing the best we can. Today I am bringing you the reading survey book survey tag. This is created by a blog perpetual page turner, and so today I will just be answering a few of these questions. I will leave the blog down in the description for you if you want to check it out and see the full list of the questions, because my next video Thursday is going to be my book awards, where I talk about most surprising, the most disappointing, so on and so forth. I haven't answered all of the reading survey tag questions just because they're going to be in that video instead. So if you want to see the full list of questions, that will be down in the description. Let's jump right in and get into this little fun tag. And the first question is, how many books did I read in the year 2024? Which is wild. I read the most that I've ever read in my entire life. I didn't think it would ever happen. I didn't think it was possible for me. I'm still kind of in denial, surprise, and shock about it. But somehow I managed to read 260 books, which is kind of crazy. For me, in comparison, in 2023, I managed to read about 147 or so. I was just shy of my 150 book goal, so I was very surprised, pleasantly surprised to see that I read so much. I think I hit 150 in June. Readathons definitely have helped with that. I know that TAR, the amazing readathon hosted by 4 Positive Books, definitely helped inch me over because I read more novellas for that, and so it got me to that 150 goal mark, and then I've continued so on more since then. So yeah, 260. It's crazy. I don't know how I did it. I don't strive to hit these big numbers and goals, but because of my job and flexibility, I am able to read a lot more than the average person, so pleasantly surprised. 260. The next question is, how many books did I reread in the year? And I want to say that it was about 6. I know that I reread one book twice. I reread Nightbane and Legendary in the same year. The other ones, don't remember. But I know that there was a couple. I've also started off 2025 with some rereads. I don't reread often, just because there's so many books that I would love to get to. So I try to keep it to a minimal, but typically I reread books in series before the next one comes out, or as I'm continuing. I've started doing some plot recaps on my channel, so that often leads to having to reread books and make sure that I'm getting my notes done in order and correct so that I can, give the information freely. But yeah, 6 in total. I don't have plans to read more or less. I'm not really that invested in rereads. There's no particular book that I'm I need to reread stuff now. I have reread Fourth Wing as of this year so far, gearing up for Onyx Storm, so there will be some rereading this year for sure, but I don't know how much yet. So the next question is a book you were really excited about but ended up being disappointing. And I have a few nominees for my biggest disappointment, but one that was really a letdown and has made the first book also different in my eyes now is sequel to A Crown of Oath and Crowns of Oaths and Curse, that book by Jay Bree. The sequel, The Throne of Honor and Blood, I think. That release was just such a hot mess. It was really disappointing to see Jay Bree and her team handle it so poorly because it didn't come out when it was supposed to. They weren't announcing the pushback very well. It just was a whole debacle, and then by the time we got the book, it had retconned something so major at the end that it kind of just made wanting to continue in the series feel kind of pointless. This is a true enemies to lover story. It is all about, okay ladies, let's not fight, I'm filming. This is all about a witch, Rooksbane Evening Star, who is living on the southern continent or something, escaping because in the world in which she was raised, which you can see in the prequel book The Scepter, she was living in a small little village in the forest, and they're all magical and healers and really cool, kick-ass, but witches have become the enemy in the eyes of the Fae, and war has broken out. Magic is not quite outlawed, but it's not good, and the Fae are cursed, and so they've got a lot of resentment towards witches who they believe caused the curse. And so there's a bit of a fated mates going on between a prince and Rook, and so eventually they collide. It is the truest enemy of lovers in the first book. There's so much resentment and hate and just having to learn how to truly not be a bigot anymore. There's a lot there. And then to go into the second book hoping that there's going to be change and development in the relationship, and I think this might just be 3 books. They're very chunky, but development happens. The characters are nice. I do like the world building. I love the characters, but just this felt like a middle book syndrome, but with the worst retcon and just awful decisions that just didn't fit to the characters. You would imagine going from true enemies to lovers that there would be a lot of groveling, trying to make up for past deeds, and it just didn't fulfill any of the hopes and desires I had. So it was really disappointing, a big letdown. So the next question is kind of hard for me to answer. It's the book that I push the most people to read, and I normally have quite a few answers. I normally come to this tag at the end of the year and I'm like, I made this person read this and a bunch of people read this. I don't know if I have an answer to this year. Maybe it's the cold brain telling me that, and there is something that I'm just like completely missing out, but I genuinely don't no, I know that I made Eliza read Blood and Steel, which I have recommended to multiple people, but I don't think they've ended up picking it up. So I can't say that it's happened. So I don't have a proper good answer for this year, which is kind of a shame. I will influence more people to read more books, I guess, in 2025. The next question is, what is the best series that I started? I think it would have to go to The Legend of Thesmar by Helen Shore. This is Blood and Steel, followed by, why am I doing this to myself? Vows and Ruins, Fate and Furies, and I always get the last one wrong, Storm and Shadows. I love these books. I love this world. I did get the art for the follow-up series following Thea's sister Ren and her romance and her journey, and I'm so excited to read Iron and Embers. Like, I'm sick, and I do think that one of my big goals is just to like be a potato in bed, drink some soup, and like read that book. So I will soon be thriving, but until then, I do think that The Legend of Thesmar has just been one of the best series. I binged it. I reread the third book twice in the year because I listened to the audiobook the first time and I knew that I was missing stuff, and it was like right after a reading slump. So I reread it as the fourth book came out, and it was just such a joy. It was such a pleasure. I was so obsessed with these characters. This is definitely one of the series that like solidified, yeah, I'm definitely a romantasy girl, because it was just so fun. Vows and Ruin, I would say, is probably like the steamiest. There's a lot of on again, off again with everybody. The cast of characters, the found family that just continues throughout the series is so enjoyable. Blood and Steel on its own is one of my favorite setups for a book. It has been a hit every single time. I've only read 3 that are just like it, but every time they always hit. Blood and Steel is following Athea, and she wants to be so badly a warrior, and unfortunately she knows that her destiny, her prophecy, her lifespan is going to be cut a little bit short, and so she's trying to live it to the fullest. But women are not allowed to be warriors because of the prophecy that says once the woman wields a blade, something bad stuff. And so of course she eventually saves the king, gets favor, she gets to join and start training. There's the worst character. I think his name also is Barlow, similar to Fourth Wing. It's just common at this rate. I think Barlow's, I'm sorry if that's your last name, but Barlow's just seem to be inherently evil. It's always enjoyable. It's a fun setup. I love it so much. She makes great friends with Kip and the other one whose name I can't remember. I think it starts with a C. No, Christopher and Kip I think are the same. I don't know anymore. Sorry. But there's a beautiful found family. You've got a nice little core friendship between like some of the outcasts, and then of course you've got Wilder, who is such a babe. Love him dearly. Love him, his friends, all of it. Wonderful. And I'm really excited to see where the characters and the story continue with Ren. Cal! His name is Cal. It's Cal. Cal, Kip, Althea. There we go. The next question is if I have any favorite new authors. And for whatever reason, when you join BookTube, you start to develop other people's rules for things, and one of like the universal BookTube things that have become normal is that you don't classify somebody a favorite author until you get 3-5 stars from them. I know Kayla does this, I know Meg with Books does this, so it is just like a thing. And although I don't quite full-heartedly fall into that, just because I'm really bad at reading multiple things from authors, obviously Helen has become my favorite just because I love the Legend of Thesmar series so much. Also, who else? I don't know. But I don't know if anyone else has really come into my life recently in 2024 that made them a solidified favorite that I could trust on yet. So far, Erin A. Craig is still at the very tippy top. No one has knocked her down at all. Yeah, no, I don't really have a favorite new author, which is kind of crazy. I'm really bad at reading authors who I like. And so one of my goals for this year is to read more dedicated author vlogs where I could really like explore someone's backlist if like I've enjoyed things from them. We're gonna work on it. The next question is favorite book or best book out of a genre you don't typically read or out of your comfort zone. I obviously have my 3 most read genres, fantasy, horror, and romantasy now, so I'm not going to give you recommendations out of those, even though I have them, of course. But I want to say romance, literary. Sci-fi is probably one of my least read. Sci-fi and historical, I think, are two of my least read genres, period. But I did have 3 strong wins in sci-fi, which was Girls with Sharp Sticks, The Memory Police, and Annie Bot. All fantastic. I'm really excited to read Beautyland in 2025. I'm not a giant nonfiction reader, but it came from the closet. Chef's Kiss, absolutely one of my favorite. I don't even like watch horror movies, but for whatever reason, this one like really did it for me, really hit. It was wonderful. And I would say for romance, Emily Henry has not quite solidified favorite author yet, but I've had a good time. I gave Funny Story 5 stars. I really enjoyed it, which is shocking for me because contemporary romances can go any which way. I really liked Magnolia Parks this year. I really liked Check and Mate, Dragons in Drama, just like some YA romances also hit. The Pairing, The Husbands, and Funny Story all were like stand-out romances for me this year that I surprisingly enjoyed. Is The Husbands really a romance? Probably not. I should probably put that in the literary, to be honest, but it's fine. The next question is most unputdownable book of the year. I have 4 tentatively on my list. Vita Nostra being the bottom, The Traitor Queen, Funny Story, but unfortunately, I do have to give honorable first place to The Crown of Oaths and Curses by Jay Bree. That book had me in a chokehold. Eliza and I were like buddy reading and just having a great time with the book. It really solidified something special in me. It's a chunky book, no audio. I just physically read it, which is a feat on its own for somebody like me. Somebody who is so intimidated by chunky book has a really like hard time accepting that like I am capable of reading big books, and it's okay if it takes me a while. I don't have to be super fast at it, and that's fine. It's fine if I have to reread a sentence a couple times or like look up words. It's okay to spend time with books, and not letting my dyslexia stop me from picking up books without audio, big books especially without audio. I'm really fine at like picking up books on my Kindle now that I have one. For whatever reason, like picking up a physical book, I just feel so intimidated. It's so silly, but we're working on that one. The next question is a book that I am likely to reread, and there's 3 that I have. One that is like, obviously series are kind of just like a given. Like the Cruel Prince series is something that I'll definitely pick back up at some point in life just because I had fun with them, and The Wicked King is one of my favorite sequels ever. It was Chef's Kiss. Outside of series, I want to say I really want to revisit Bonesmith because I didn't love it, and I listened to the audiobook. I have a physical copy on my shelves, but because I didn't read along, I feel like I missed some of the world building and I was just kind of confused and didn't connect to the characters. So I'm hoping that if I reread it, that'll solve that problem. And the other reread that I would like to do is We Used to Live Here. I really enjoyed this. I thought that it was so good. I thought the audiobook was fantastic. There's Morse code in the book, and I feel like it might just be one of those fun stories. Maybe this is my way of saying I want to buy a copy, and if I reread the book, it gives me like an excuse to buy it, you know? Maybe that's it. But I really like this one, and I definitely can see myself rereading it in the future. The next question is, what book can you believe that you waited so long to read? And I've got a couple options. One being Legends and Lattes, because it blew up. It was so popular. It was so beloved. And part of the hype made me concerned about picking it up. Also, I learned that I'm just not the biggest cozy fan. So cozy books already like put a wall against us where I'm just like, I don't know if I should do it. But eventually I did pick up Legends and Lattes, and I did actually enjoy it. There were more stakes than I thought there would be. It's got a really good cast of characters. I would die for Thimble, and that's all that matters to me. The next one that I have is The Wicked King. I read The Cruel Prince, I want to say in 2022, so it's been a minute, and luckily beautiful Elizabeth Page, one of the two, she did a recap for The Cruel Prince, and it really, like, her love for the series really brought my excitement back for it. So I continued on with The Wicked King, and then I ended up finishing the series with The Queen of Nothing, and I'm really happy that I finally finished that and did that, because I can't believe that I just didn't pick them up. So good. And the next two are some of my favorite books of the year, Kaikei and The Jasad Heir. Both were so good, and I'm so happy that I purchased them from Book of the Month or got them in a book subscription box, and I'm glad that I finally picked them up. There are a lot of winners on my shelf, and I won't know until I read them, so I gotta read these things so I can get more 5 stars. Oh my god, the next question, let's fangirl for a second. The next question is my favorite OTP for the year. I have 4 on my list. Which is my favorite? I'm not really sure. The first couple on the list are, of course, Jude and Carden, everyone's favorite OTP. They just have a really good dynamic. The moments that they have together on page are impeccable, and because they're a little bit more far and few between for romantasy, it's definitely a fantasy story with a romance in it. But I do really enjoy their dynamic together. I really like seeing them together, the way that they banter and play off. It's cute. It's sweet. The next couple I have is Laura and Arin from The Bridge Kingdom. I don't think that they're quite top contenders for me. I did really like them when I read them. Since continue on with the Bridge Kingdom series. I've seen a bunch of different couples. I do think Laura and Aaron are the best out of the different couples, but I don't think they're the most standoutish. If you're gonna read like a romantasy book, they're not gonna be like your favorite couple, but I did like them. Next up, I have Rave and Khan, When the Moon Hatched, and I know, who would have thought Sam liked it. It's just got a very fun like D&D style world building. It's kind of a lot and very purpley and doesn't always make sense, and it's not fully explained, but the vibes were there, and I did like the characters. I also have a lot of issues with like the plot and how our character had no agency and everything just kind of was happening to Rave rather than like her having control of her own story. I did rather enjoy the reveal between the characters and as the story progressed, so I do have a lot of qualms with it, but something about just like being in the atmosphere, the setting, the world just reminded me of D&D campaigns that I watch and just having fun with like story building. And I can understand that like the author had the world envisioned so well known in her head that it maybe was just a bit hard to translate to page, but I still really enjoyed them as characters. I really enjoyed the story as a whole. That's my hot take. Anyway, and then the final couple that I have are Evie and Ryan from, surprisingly, For Sly Winds, which is a thriller. It's kind of like a spy thriller, if you will. She's definitely like undercover, trying to get stuff done. She's working for a man. I don't know why, but Evie and Ryan just really worked for me. I loved the book. I loved the ending. It wasn't what I expected it to be at all. I know that a lot of people didn't like it, so I know I'm seeing high praise for it. It did well in the Goodreads Choice Awards, so I do think that it's good amongst maybe your more average reader. If you read a lot of thrillers or if you don't like spy novels, then maybe it won't work for you. But for whatever reason, it worked for me. I had a hoot of a time listening to the audiobook. I really enjoyed Evie. I really liked Ryan. They work so well together. I do think they might be my favorite. And then as for my favorite non-romantic relationship, I have two that really stick out. I've already mentioned prior. Blood and Steel, Althea, Kip, and Cal are all they're just so good together. I love them so much. Obviously, I love Thea and Wilder together. They are also incredible, but there's something about the group dynamic. There's something similar in two other books. I won't say anything. I don't like trying to spoil it, but I also want to like share the news that like these books are all similar if you like it. Anywho, I really like them though. I think that Kip is absolutely hilarious. I love that Cal is kind of the one who has to balance everybody out. I just like their group dynamic so much. Like they're so fun, so sweet, so good to each other. They care so deeply for each other so quickly, have each other's back through it all. I love it. I adore them. And then following and a close second behind would be characters from the Jasad Heir, Sylvia, Sepha, and Merrick. I really like them as well. They've kind of got their own found family situation going on, but as Sylvia is off on this adventure and is chosen to be champion for a rivaling kingdom, if you will, you've got her two best friends who come and try to save her and help her out the best that they can and show up for her. And I just find that really sweet and caring. Like, they all care for each other so much, and I just love seeing that in books. I love seeing strong friendships where no matter thick and thin. There was this, Eliza sent me this reel on Instagram where like the girl was like, I'm gonna go off on this adventure alone, I'm gonna save the world all by myself, and the friends are like, why would you do that? Like, we're all here for you, like, why would you do this? And she's just like, it's the prophecy, like, I just have to, my heart's telling me to. And the friends are like, you're an idiot, let us come with you. I like that in a book where the friends, just no matter what the character says, they're going to be there for it all, thick and thin. They're gonna help save the world, and I just love that dynamic. Next question is books that I read purely from recommendations and or peer pressure. I do want to say that it's probably The Ministry of Time, and it wasn't like any specific person pressuring me. It was kind of just like the community as a whole were really hyping the book up, and I was so excited. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get The Ministry of Time. It's on Book of the Month. It's gonna be great. Everybody's loving it. And then I read it, and then I was so disappointed and a little bit icked and just like didn't love it. This is a sci-fi romance spy thriller historical all-in-one mishmash of a book, and it was kind of a lot. I don't think that it was terrible. I don't think that it was good either. I don't think it warranted 5 stars. I didn't love that we are taking a real-life human and putting him into a sci-fi time travel of, which I don't like time travel as a trope anyway, but we're putting him into this fictional book with steamy scenes and romance, but he's also like from so long ago. It's such a tragic expedition that it's like, okay, so we're like teaching him how to be the perfect boyfriend by like only showing him things that the girl would like about him. I don't know, it's just a little weird. It was a little weird. I didn't quite love the dynamics. I don't think it's a terrible book, but I definitely did not get what I was hoping to get out of it, especially because like the last third was so unhinged just like wild of a time that I would say that I shouldn't have listened to the book community at that moment and maybe should have just skipped past it. But hey, at least I can say I read it. So the next question is a book that made you smile and a book that made you laugh. For smile, I want to go with The Utterly Uninteresting and Unadventurous Tale of Fred the Vampire Accountant. What a mouthful of a title, but what a fun book. This is all about a guy who becomes an accountant for a vampire and his journey learning about the fantastical side. Sorry, my battery died. But what I was saying is that this book had really fun character dynamics and just like getting to know a world fish out of water kind of thing. I really enjoyed it. It was a silly time. The other books that made me smile were just like romantasy books, just like making, you know, like blush a little bit, just like a little giddy over the couple being so sweet, the banter and everything. Books that made me laugh, funny enough, Funny Story was really funny, even though I also cried multiple times, so a lot of juxtaposition there. But I want to say Midnight Strikes. I haven't talked about this one a lot on my channel. It's not like the most biggest of standouts. Midnight Strikes is a Groundhog's Day situation with a ball that this girl who didn't want to go ends up going, and she has to save everybody from an attack, and she has to just keep reliving the day over and over and over and over, and she's like falling in love with the prince, and the way that resolved really, it's perfect. But I did surprisingly laugh a good bit at it. It's not like the funniest of books because there's like sad stuff happening and people are dying and like a lot's going on, but I did find myself chuckling a little bit here and there. So the next question is a book that lived up to the hype and a book that didn't. Easy. The book that did not live up to its hype was The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. I didn't like it. I don't think I care for Leigh Bardugo's adult book. Am I gonna keep trying? Probably. Are they gonna keep disappointing me? Probably. I really was not into The Familiar. I don't know if it was the romance, just the setting, the world building, the lack of magic when I thought there was going to be more of it, the trials were disappointing, the characters didn't have an impact on me. There was a lot of things in this that I guess I just didn't enjoy. A lot of things that didn't work for me, which is unfortunate because I wanted to like it, didn't. And then of course the book that lived up to the hype, One Dark Window. It was so good. I'm so happy that I finally read it. I was really hesitant about it. My expectations based off what people in the book community had told me had set me up believing that this probably wasn't going to work for me. I was probably going to have more issues with it than wanted or worth the read, but luckily I eventually picked it up and I read it and I was obsessed with it. I was so obsessed with the banter and the couple. I love the world building. I really enjoy card magic as a trope. It just did everything that I needed it to do and blew my expectations out of the water. Like what people were telling me about it really weren't as big of a deal as I thought they were going to be, and so I actually had a lot more enjoyment out of it. Even the second book where everyone was like, you're following a different couple, and like my expectations were so wrong from what the books were, and that was nice to know because I really liked it. And the last and final question I will be answering for you guys today is a soul-crushing book, the book that crushed my soul the most, and hilariously enough, Mayfly. I can't tell you why, you just have to trust me on it. I cried, I hurt so bad, my soul just left me. I did not want anything that happened to happen. It just didn't work out for what I wanted, and I think that was kind of the point, and it hurt, and I was sad about it all. I was angry. I felt so many emotions from this, and it's so funny that like female serial killer book of once was Disney princess turned complete killer, just absolutely baffling the amount of emotions that I felt through the entire story, from like disgust and surprise to just utter sadness. Like it really took me on a journey, and I'm thankful that it did. I'm so glad I read it. I can't wait to reread it. Wild. Absolutely wild. What a way to end the video. Mayfly, most soul-crushing book I read on all of 2024. Who would have thought? Who would have thought we'd be here? And that is going to be the end of all the questions, the end of this video. I will be back with even more similar situations to similar topics in my 2024 book awards. I'm gonna go though because I'm gonna edit this video and then I'm gonna take a nap and buy some tissues because I hate being sick and my nose is just so congested. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. If you made it to the end of the video, put an eye emoji for Mayfly down in the comments. And I will see you guys Thursday for my next video. Bye!